Correct feeding practices can make all the difference in your training session. How you feed your horse food reinforcer may seem like a small detail, but when doing so correctly, they can promote relaxation, can reinforce physical boundaries, and improve safety to the handler. And feeding incorrectly can actually increase frustration in your horse, make them more tense, reinforce pushy behaviors, and actually increase the likelihood to accidentally get nipped. So here are some of my recommended practices to make a habit for yourself and some of the common mistakes I see done. Now the horse I'm using to demonstrate here is a young mare named Dolly. Dolly is a really great example because she is a very sensitive mare and can be affected very easily by small details such as feeding practices. And you'll actually be able to see this very clearly here in the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is a neutral head position. When we feed, we always want to feed in a way where our horse's head and neck are in a neutral and relaxed position. This position helps to keep the horse relaxed and comfortable and to not raise tension in the body or even promote an unhealthy position long term. A common mistake is to feed too high up with the horse's head in a raised position, too low where the horse has to lower their head too far back so that the horse has to overflex their neck, or if we stand and feed off to the side where the horse ends up bending their neck towards us or away from us. The second thing that is important is to feed away from your body. Make sure to feed your horse away from your own space. We want to ensure that the horse understands that they get food when they stay in their own space, that they don't have to come looking to you for their food. Even if you have to exaggerate an extended hand or arm at the beginning to get into this habit, don't feed near you or your food pouch, or that is where your horse will go looking for food the next time. Which brings us to the next point. Always go to the horse with the food. When we feed, we always want to bring the food to the horse and not make the horse feel like they need to come to us to get to the food. This reduces crowding for food as well as improves the behavior that you're working on by reducing the chance of accidentally rewarding another unwanted behavior such as backing up, walking forward, or turning if you don't want your horse to do so. The fourth practice is to keep a steady hand. Pay attention to keeping your hand steady whenever your horse is eating from it. Often when we are worried of getting nipped by teeth, our instincts make us try to pull our hand away due to fear. So we end up lowering our hand with each bite our horse takes. But when we pull our hand away, the chance that the horse will use their teeth is higher because they feel like they need to get the food before it moves away. So a good practice to counter that is to get into the habit of lightly pushing up into the horse's mouth while feeding. Not enough to make our horse raise their head, but just enough that they feel like their food isn't going anywhere, and this will actually help promote the use of lips over teeth. One trick I found helps a lot of people is to think of scooping the nose from above when coming in to feed. By this I mean bring your palm from the nostrils down to the upper lip. This tends to improve the chance for the horses to use their lip to grab the food. Now make sure you don't scoop from the chin, as that tends to make the horse want to grab the food with their lower jaw, which promotes the use of teeth over lips. Now one of the most important practices is to be generous. Don't hold out on your horse. Now of course you don't need to use a huge pile of food that you can barely hold in your hand, but it is good to use a generous amount of food. Using just a few pellets will make your horse more likely to get frustrated and anxious. Giving them an amount that allows them to chew for a while helps relax them and reassure them that they're not missing out on anything. How much exactly for food will depend, of course, on the horse. Some take larger bites and like larger handfuls. Others tend to be nibblers and will be happy with a smaller amount. So get to know your horse. But overall, don't be stingy. Now here's a bonus tip I have learned from other trainers that can work when you have a horse that likes to go teeth first for any food you present them. When you feed, present the food with a palms down closed fist. Flip it up immediately when the horse makes contact with it. Because they learn that the first thing they encounter is the solid part of your hand, they end up being more likely to use their lips next time they look for food in your palm. And here's some clips of Dolly showing exactly why she's a good horse to demonstrate this with. While filming this, she actually nipped me twice, both times while I demonstrated poor feeding practices. Once while I was feeding to the side and close to my body, and the other while I was lowering my hand during feeding. Now, I do find most horses are not as sensitive or show it as easily as Dolly, and they tend to be more forgiving when we make those mistakes. However, it is still good to create good habits, as feeding correctly or poorly can affect a lot of different things in the long run. So I hope this video helps improve your feeding practices and thus your training sessions. Let me know in the comments if you have anything else that you'd like me to cover.